the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Subcommittee meeting for April 7th, 2014, my 59th birthday. And start with the roll call or introduction.
Scott Donahue, 1420 45th Street.
Celeste Burrows.
Tom Lodick, Chair.
Marcy Greenhut, Public Works.
Sarah Bowling, Planning.
The road or
Last
Tim Bukowski, Cameron.
I'm not.
No, I know that. Better wake up.
Where's Cop? Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
And others, we have at least two other people from the city.
Amber Evans, Community Development.
Mike Roberts, Public Works.
Robert Long with Alphabet Associates.
What
Wilbur Elias, Traffic Engineering.
Matthew Wigland, Citizen.
Leah Gigman, Neighbor.
Jen Tran, Regal Lights.
Robert Prinz from Bike East Bay and just across the border in Oakland.
Legal Baco project.
Great. So are there any public comments about items not on the agenda? Nothing there. So let's go to the approval of the March 3 minutes.
Oh,
I think I
do you have them? You know what, I'm sorry folks, I don't have copies here. Do you have already copies?
guess I
Did you guys, anybody print it out from what's online?
don't
From the email
think
sent out?
I did. It was an earlier email that wasn't.
Yeah, I thought it was in here. So we can approve it next time.
Here, just say 59.
59?
That's his birthday. He's giving you that lemon curd.
Okay. Gonna have to report this, you know.
No, I don't think it's worth too much money. It's about $3.
Wow.
You sure it's under $25 requirement?
I don't know if it's worth it.
$50 before.
Is it 50 now?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we don't have the minutes.
Did anybody print out from their email that they got? If not, then we'll just do it next time.
Okay.
It's been
We
a long
will
time.
put that off until next month.
Can I make a suggestion?
Certainly, sir.
Or we can put them up there.
Not
On our agenda?
On the agenda, the
Okay.
order of items. Since we have consultants here, can we move the item Christie Avenue forward so they don't have to sit 45 minutes to
Yes.
review the other one?
How does that sound?
I don't know if you're going to talk about like the worst case.
Sounds good to us.
Okay. Is that all right? That's fine.
Yeah, maybe we could go backwards. We could do C first and then B second and then oblivion. Because I don't see, Laura's not here, right?
Is she coming?
I don't know.
I would assume so.
So, yeah, we will go backwards in alphabetical order on this agenda here.
CDA?
Yeah, why not? Is there any objection? Nope. So, the Christie Avenue bike path.
Okay.
Take it away.
Okay, we're very excited to report back on this. We're actually ahead of schedule on this project. We received grant funding to do this project.
Do we have copies we could pass around?
I will be doing it.
Okay.
And I guess we can start moving it around, but if you want to pass this around. So we received Measure B funds to do this exciting project here, which is a gap closure in the Bay Trail between the Powell and Christie intersection and Shellman and Christie. Currently, the trail comes along the Bay Trail on the Bay, east on Christie, and then once you get to Powell and Christie, you can't really get to Shellman Street. And as you know, they just opened up the Bay Bridge Trail. We have a lot more cyclists in town, and we're trying to make this connection a lot better. So we received, fortunately, an OBAG funded Measure B grant with some very strict timelines, and we're supposed to be out. Well, actually, we have to have the final plans and specs approved by City Council by October 30th. So we're trying to move this project along quickly. And
Would you hit that acronym with actual words, OBAG? I'm used to
One
ABAG.
Bay Area Grant is what OBAG stood for. And the pot of money we got was local Measure D monies as opposed to federal money. So that's been really good for us because federal monies usually take a lot more staff effort to move the projects forward. So that's enabled us to move this project along as quick as we have. So what we have right now before us is a draft conceptual plan of the Bay Trail along Christie. And the concept was that we had added excess capacity in Christie Avenue. It used to be a two-way street for the full length of it. But when the Bay Front redeveloped and opened up, we figured out that in order to make traffic flow smoothly, we had to make a portion of it one way. So as a result, we've had an extra capacity in this street. It's extra wide. And so I've been looking at it for a long time, thinking that we might be able to take better advantage of the street and use it for cyclists. And I guess everybody else felt the same when they gave us a grant, and so we're moving that along. So the idea is to take one of the driving lanes that goes in the northbound direction. It's actually a curved street, of course, but using one of those lanes for the cyclists. And the idea here is to extend out into the street a bike lane area and a new planting area. And if you look on this handout that I gave you, the typical section on the upper left-hand corner, you can see that the existing sidewalk is about 5 feet. You can see where that is on the left-hand side. We've extended out about 8 feet.
Luis, you don't have a pointer, do you, that you could use on the map so everybody can see what you're talking
If you
about?
look on the map here. So this is the edge of the existing curb right now. We're extending out about 8 feet for the bike area, and then we have a separation from the edge of the bike lane to the new face of curb of 5 feet, and this area here gets filled in with a bioswale with landscape. So that's generally what the cross section looks like. So if you look at plan view, you can see that what we're proposing is the bikes to be in an asphalt paved area on the outside of the concrete. So the existing concrete is about 5 feet, and it would generally be the same width all the way through there, and that would be technically for the pedestrians to walk on. And then extended out beyond that would be a paved asphalt area for the bikes. And if you look in plan view, we could start one end or the other. However, I think it might be easiest to start at Shellmound Street and Christie. What this plan does is it squares off the corner. If you want to go down to the next sheet on your page there.
Can you go down a little bit?
Okay, there you go. So the existing alignment sidewalk comes around like this. So what we're talking about doing is squaring this off. This area becomes kind of a pedestrian refuge area. This is the end of the bike path in this area here. And we provide high visibility crosswalks on both legs, or all the legs. And so as you can see, this is a kind of unique situation where you have cyclists and pedestrians all kind of congregating on this corner. And we're coming up with a design that would allow for a bicycle signal bicycle signal heads to be incorporated into the existing traffic signal. Right now, this signal operates with an all pedestrian phase, so all the pedestrians can cross at any time, either in this direction or in that direction right now. What we're deliberating right now and trying to come up with a way to make it work is to allow cyclists to move at the same time as all the pedestrians are moving. So we wouldn't have separate bike phase where bikes are only moving. It would be only when the pedestrians are going, the cyclists are going. And so as the cyclist is approaching the intersection from Shellmound on their way north, they're in the bike lane. As they get close to the intersection, we could have sharrows on the street so that vehicles know that cyclists might be on this busy street. This cyclist could merge into this lane here. This area used to be the left turn pocket for cars going around. We could turn it into a left turn area for the cyclists.
A quick question. Is this pure creativity, or is this NACTO?
It's all NACTO, it's all standard. Yeah, standard. Everything is standard. typically on a standard intersection, you wouldn't have to put these sharrows in, but I think something to offer, we don't have to do that. Standard is cyclists can maneuver into a left turn pocket. That's done all the time, right? So we've created this left turn pocket just for cyclists. As well, a cyclist that wants to go straight forward could stay in this lane and wait right here, right? Okay, so they'll be waiting here. When the signal goes to the pedestrian phase or for the cyclist, we'll have sensors, video detectors there so that it could sense whether or not a cyclist is here. If it is, it'll go into this all pedestrian cyclist phase where the pedestrian lights come on and the bike signal heads come on, and the cyclist will be able to come without any cars going. You might have a right turn coming on red like we have right now. If we prohibit that, we have a lot of congestion issues to deal with. But right now we have vehicles coming to a stop, all pedestrians are moving, and these cars are making a right turn on red. There's really hasn't been a safety problem with that, and I envision we'd continue to
But
do
because there's a delayed right turn, isn't that correct? Like as it is now?
everybody's coming to a stop,
Yes.
and then there's a lot of pedestrians moving, and then cars slowly come out as their
So right turn is permitted on red?
right turn is permitted on red on this right now.
But isn't there a pedestrian go signal prior to that? Didn't we do something
The
about that?
pedestrian lead phase we used to have,
Okay.
but we eliminated that in this intersection when we created the all pedestrian phase, because it's not leading anything, it's all pedestrian.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So we've created this left turn pocket just for the cyclists that want to access this area. I should note though, if a cyclist does not want to go, doesn't feel comfortable merging over, if they're here and they get the all pedestrian phase, there's no conflict with this cyclist also going at the same time because it's pedestrians and cyclists going. Cyclists that want to go straight through, we're trying to figure out a way to do it legally to allow them to continue on it when there's a green ball phase going. So in other words, typically a cyclist, if they want to go straight, they would go right now when the signal turns green. And so we're trying to figure out a way to make that work with the signalization so that that move could continue to go. They wouldn't have to sit here and wait for the all pedestrian bicycle phase to go.
Or so you're saying, I'm sorry, with the left-hand turn pocket for bicyclists,
Yes,
or the video detection?
there'll be there's video detection here now, so we just need to create the sensitive zone. for
And
the
were you
cycle.
saying it would switch to the all pedestrian phase if there was a bicyclist present? Or were you just, I wasn't sure if that was how you said it.
If a cyclist is detected in this location,
Yeah.
it'll trigger the bike phase, which comes on with the pedestrian phase. So this right here would be like actuating the pedestrian phase because it happens at the same time.
And the cyclists would then be yielding to the pedestrians, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like right now, the cyclists and the pedestrians are moving all at the same time while they're on the path. So that in this case, they'd be doing it through the intersection as well.
So what happens, so we had this idea of this eventually being a scrambled pedestrian thing. What happens?
So a scramble technically is where a pedestrian can walk diagonally across.
Which they can't do right now.
If you're able-bodied and you can walk more than 3.5 feet per second.
Okay,
Because
it's
right
not
now-
timed perfectly.
Yeah, because right now the way it's set up is there's enough time to get the longest distance.
Yeah.
It's not set up to be able to walk both or at an angle. There's enough time legally for a person to walk at 3.5 feet per second to get across the longest way. I don't remember if it's this one or that one, but it's one of it. That's enough, that's how much time is there.
Was that when that hotel project was coming on the other side there?
You know, I mean, I just noticed that people do walk diagonally.
I do myself,
across
I do myself. Because I know it's safe to do it, but it's not the way, it's not going to be advertised to do it that way because technically it's not set up for it.
Because wasn't there some hotel project down the top?
There was going to be a project here. There was a Wells Fargo.
Oh.
No,
Oh, there's
Hyatt.
Hyatt.
yeah.
There's one on this
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Because there's Black Bear down there.
Black Bear's right here.
Right, the Trader Joe's on the other side, just,
Correct,
yeah,
yes,
just a
yes,
little.
yes, yes.
Because I remember it was some hotel project, there was all kinds of
Yeah,
parking
that's
and.
still-
The health
That's
project
site
was
B,
already,
right?
it's been approved years ago, and they're finally coming through.
So that's the site B, it's part of site B.
Yeah.
So, another thing about this intersection is we're showing an added bike lane coming out of Bay Street here. Because you might have some cyclists that come out here that want to go out onto the trail. So that would be tied in with the signal. We haven't really designed the whole signal yet, so we'll have that to present on
And how about the right turn going this way on Christie, going to Shell Mound, because that's the way to
the
the
right
bridge,
turn
right?
from here going this way.
Yeah, so that's just a.
So that would get a signal when the walk cycle comes on and the bike heads come on, they just come out here and go. Right?
And once they see somebody else do it, they.
Yeah, every small.
Know how to do it, yeah.
Do you have a question, Jennifer?
Well, yeah, my concerns are the bikes and pedestrian conflicts. You know, if they're going in different directions at the same time with the same signal, both from that left turn pocket and then the right turn, as you're saying, from.
They're gonna
Christie
have
Shell.
to kind of maneuver around each other.
Yeah, and if it's, you know, if it's one bike and a couple pedestrians, it's not a problem. If there's a lot of pedestrians going across and the bike doesn't get started soon enough, they're gonna be in conflict. I would fear going in a different direction.
Yeah, I mean, the
Say something
signal
like
will
share
not
the
support,
path.
the signal, yeah, share the sign, and the signal will not support separate bikes and separate pedestrians.
I mean, at some point, maybe when the rest of Site A and Site B are developed and there's lots more pedestrian traffic, perhaps we could support that kind of scramble a longer phase or something.
Well, then, no, perhaps not, because you're gonna have that much more cars too. And so you're gonna have that much more pedestrians, so.
But, well,
We're thinking about the future, when,
But when the future
No cars.
is in their cars, they're all in the.
is this a pedestrian priority zone in our city?
This is a regional priority, regional traffic.
It's not pedestrian. Yeah, go on.
So, you know, if you, I mean, all over the world, there's, I mean, look, if you, primarily what I look at is like, I look at videos a lot, like in India, where everything's going at the same time. It works. I think when you have a lot going, I think it works, in my professional opinion, so.
It's like for all their good works.
Do people go slow in India?
I'll send you a link of a.
I mean, I haven't been, so
No,
I
it's-
don't have a sense.
It's the effect of there being so much going on that everybody has to slow down.
Right.
Otherwise you'll hit something. And so, I think that's what Maurice is talking about. I don't know if it'll be
Yeah, I don't know how
different here.
congested it's gonna be really, to be honest, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if somebody's gonna be up to full speed as they're coming here, and then we might need to think about some signs that, so cyclists aren't going, 30 miles an hour, coming around the corner or something.
You're talking, I'm sorry for being late, you're talking about the two-way cycle track. Is that what
I
we're
don't know
Yes.
what you.
Okay, yes.
Sounds like-
Chris, it's down there.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is
You
two.
have the copy?
Yes, she does.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Ross Gordon has another question.
yes,
I like the mixed pedestrian bicycle phase personally. I think of, how streets work during open streets events and, the conflicts are minimal as long as people are paying attention. I think maybe in the meantime to get people in that frame of mind, maybe a bicycles yield to peds sign would be appropriate just to get people in that frame of mind to look out for that sort of thing. I'm trying to think of bikes moving in every single direction to get where they will want to go in this intersection. The one conflict I'm seeing that isn't resolved without a right turn restriction is northbound Shell Mound on car traffic turning right from northbound Shell Mound onto Bay Street. It seems to me like you do have to restrict right turns on red if you're going to enable bikes to make a left turn from the bike lane onto the path. I don't see any other way to get around it there. The other directions, I agree with you. Since there's a dedicated turn lane, that issue doesn't come up as much.
right. I don't know that we're gonna advertise that you can do this, but I just see cyclists will do it.
I think the majority of cyclists will actually do that because of the amount of traffic on Shell Mound. It's going to be very, very difficult, except on the most open times of day to get into that left turn.
Right, so the issue we're struggling with right now is how to make it clear that when you're here and the signal goes green for cars, that a cyclist is not gonna try to make this left from here. And that's what we're struggling with right now.
Right.
The legal way to do
Or
that.
even great.
Well, the other option is to do the two-stage turn and, you know, to go all the way across the intersection and through the crosswalk.
But there's no good place to stage it here.
That's what I was thinking too, though, is if you built another staging area there and then turn that crosswalk into a path crosswalk.
Well, also, that's a very, very long light, like pedestrians have to do a two-stage to get across certain parts of it, and it takes long. So I can't.
That's why we
I can see
diagonal it.
Right, that's why I could see bicyclists getting very frustrated and not obeying the signals if that was what we're trying to do.
And one solution that we're working on on Park Street in Oakland is actually to create like a queue box for bicyclists. Unfortunately, there's not quite as much sidewalk space to work with here. For people who do want to turn left once the light goes red for car traffic and green for bikes, for them to actually wait and let other bikes who are going straight through to cross. But I mean, I'm familiar with that location. It's not a whole lot of sidewalk to work with, unfortunately.
So all pedestrian and bicycle phase, cyclists will be able to go straight in this way. They'll be able to come out this way. All directions they'll be able to go. And then when there's a green ball phase for vehicles, a southbound cyclist would be able to continue south.
Yeah.
Right? North could go north. And then also west could continue this way too. We're trying to design it that way.
Would you be willing to study the impacts of the no right turn on red for northbound Shell Mountain?
I already know it's bad. We've already done that. Yeah. It's congested now, it's gonna be that. So I think we look at it, you can always put up a sign. It's not an expensive change.
Or during that phase, you know, it lights up no turn, no right turn, or something like that.
Oh, during the, well, you're saying no right turn on pedestrian phase,
Yeah.
Right.
but not on all the other
Car.
moves. Maybe that's something to look at.
Maybe it'd be an
So it's like-
all
sort of like a
all
plan.
pedestrian scramble in the future there. For everybody,
So it might-
all the cyclists and all the cars.
The main thing for the pedestrian scramble is this traffic, if this starts to build up, it goes all the way up to Powell and Christie, and then it's gridlock. So that, we've looked at it when we put in this. Now I haven't, now that we've squared this off, I haven't looked at the amount of time it takes to get, I don't know if this distance from here to here is the same as what this was.
It's longer.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've got to look at it. You looked at it?
Yeah.
Okay. So by the way, this is Robert Wong. He's our consultant that prepared the design. So, Alpha.
How much is that whole project supposed to cost?
We have about 550,000.
It's almost all grant money?
It's all grant.
Great.
The other thing to be noted is you've been talking about the crossing, it is now shorter as a diagonal for those issues.
Yeah, so you can be able to walk here, well, yeah, from here over and then up.
So when we come out in the middle of the night with green paint, just pull across the diagonal.
So you see bike markings with green box. So we're talking about these stencils with the green on them coming through.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry, maybe you already covered this, but for bikes who are coming, they want to turn, coming from the Bay Trail and want to turn right, what phase do they do that
The
in?
same phase as every all the cyclists move. So,
So there's a cycle-only phase where all the
cycle
cars
and
are stopped.
pedestrian going at the same time.
Okay, so there's this phase where everything,
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
cars are stopped, okay.
A dodging phase.
Hard.
Yes.
A dodging phase.
Just a couple of quick points.
Sure.
First of all, appreciate the city of Emeryville looking at alternatives and making this really last bike trail connection through this area. This section, just for everyone's information, is not technically officially part of the adopted bike trail alignment yet, but we are very interested in changing the alignment to make this the connection for the bike trail. Just emphasizing the point from Bike East Bay, I agree with the fact that the people who are traveling, what is that? That would be northbound off Powell. I think a vast majority of bicyclists are probably going to be uncomfortable making that two-lane crossover, especially if you're looking at people who aren't avid, regular, hardcore road cyclists. Are not going to be as comfortable making that turn. And if you're looking at people who are trying to get onto, who are used to riding on Class 1 trails along the Berkeley-Emeryville waterfront, and then, of course, on the bridge, this is going to be a difficult transition for them to get on street. So I would also like to see if there's a way to be able to make that turn work coming from the right side of the bicycle lane.
And not even have this?
Maybe.
I don't think you want to exclude that option, but, I think what I'm saying is that we want to look at options to maximize the comfort level for the largest variety of users, essentially. The second point I wanted to, more of a question than anything, if you're looking at coming from Christie going eastbound, and you're looking at the people who are moving to turn right towards Shell Mound, heading towards the bridge, is there enough, I don't really get a sense of the distance there, is there enough room for them to be able to make an easy right turn there?
So this is 10 feet, and this is 10 feet, right, Robert? So
Coming off the trail?
So this is 10 feet, this road here is 10 feet, and then it narrows to 8 right here. So we widened it a little bit here, because what we were concerned about is you might have a few cyclists staging here, and then this gets a green light, and so a cyclist might want to come through, they've got to have a place to get through.
Turn into, right. I was more thinking about the right turn going towards the south, if there needs to be a wider lip to make it an easier right turn. It may not be necessary given the
Well,
distance
I don't
that
think
you have.
they're going to be at a stand, they're going to come to a standstill, they're going to get their phase, and then they're going to proceed, so,
Okay.
right?
Well, maybe you'd have a green box there, and the
Unless-
swale goes back 5
The only
feet.
time I can see is that if they're approaching and it's already a pedestrian phase, or a
Right.
bicycle phase. they
They're
might
trying to
come
make
slow
light.
down.
Yeah, it's hard to make that right turn fast.
Now you're gonna have to slow down, for sure, on that.
May not want them to move fast.
Right,
Yeah,
well, and
you
if there's
don't want to go
pedestrians
fast.
coming
Yeah,
across
yeah.
on both ways,
Yeah.
yeah, it could be a conflict.
Yeah. So that's it for this intersection, those two comments.
Okay, so do you wanna move to the next comment? You got another question on this side?
Yeah, for people trying to enter Christie going to Bay Street, so people heading east from either Christie or Shawna, where are the bicycles?
Cyclists are here, going east, they just continue
They
here.
just go across, and then what about if you're headed south?
If they're coming.
If you're headed north, you can go like this. or-
No,
If they're
from
coming from
Shawna.
Shell Mound, like from the.
Oh, this
public
Shell
way.
Mound. Okay, if you're stop- okay.
situation.
Okay, if you're coming this way and you wanna go in here,
Mm-hmm.
currently that move's prohibited for all vehicles, because there's no left turns allowed. So technically, if you're here and you see the all pedestrian bicycle phase, you'd be able to do that, right?
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
And since what you said, I want to suggest putting a green advance stop bike box on both sides, so both directions, because that might solve the problem of bikes getting across if there's about a bike length of bike box, so cars stop back.
So,
Let's say heading north, let's
Here?
talk about northbound first. Heading northbound, that would allow a bike room to just sort of slide across and make that left turn more easily because they would be stopped in front of traffic instead of having to weave through traffic. If they come up on the light at a red phase, they could move over while the cars are stopped.
so where's the?
It might be a problem for left turning cars, I think there would
So
be conflict.
typically the bike's gonna wait here, right?
Right, so
So
if
what are you
there's a,
suggesting?
that right from where the bike would wait just down, you put across both lanes, you put a green bike box that
Right here?
connects.
So you have to
Across the lanes, right?
Yeah.
control the cars.
Yeah,
Oh,
then you
no,
just do it across
we're
the
not going-
lanes.
No, we,
To
Bike
give
box?
the bikes an opportunity to move across during the red phase and position themselves.
no,
during the red phase.
at this point, they're being studied. We went through this whole thing.
Advanced
on-
bike box,
Yeah, we did, the
they're,
bike
the
boxes.
NACTO guidelines, they're on the streets all over the
The
Bay
NACTO
Area.
guidelines don't have, it's not in the METCD yet. If it gets adopted in the California supplement, I don't want to do any studies with this project,
No,
right?
I understand that, I guess it just seems like this is a
Or
pretty
experiment.
progressive project, this is really
Right.
cool,
Right,
advanced
right.
stuff, and bike boxes don't seem.
Bike boxes,
that-
I think,
They seem
I'm
right in line
for
with-
bike boxes when everybody else figures them out and they're in the California supplement, but I wouldn't recommend doing it and taking the risk. It's too non-standard. Once people understand them, then I would say, okay, something we want to do. It's only paint. It's only paint and you can always adjust the paint lines later.
Quick
Well,
update.
I want to consider that, yeah, and I think it would solve the southbound problem too, because it would give bikes a place to stop, so during the bike phase, they could just go. But
I
maybe
think
that
the
would be
majority, what,
sufficient.
we went through this with the Safe Routes to Transit, and we talked about it quite a bit. And San Francisco's doing a study, and they were finding that people didn't know how to use them, okay? And so, until they're understood by everybody, you need to have everything uniform so everybody understands what to do in the intersection. This has had a lot of traffic here, and I don't know that we want to, as a city, take on the liability of something that's non-standard that hasn't been really proven yet. That's my,
I can tell you what people do when they don't know how to use them, is the cars pull into it and then the bikes can't get in it, and okay. If a bike is there, I don't think a car is like.
but I appreciate the suggestion, but I think at this point, we can always, the city will always be able to add those once they become uniform and adopted standard. It's just paint, because we can change the detection zones. That's easy to add later, once
Well,
they
I
become.
want to say for the record that I think that it's possible that that might solve our getting bikes over, you know, getting
Okay.
inexperienced cyclists over.
Okay.
Creating a zone for them to move over might be helpful.
I had another question. Someone else have another
I
thought?
was just gonna say
Okay.
something.
Tom? What's the timeline for this
Well,
project?
we're supposed to have the city council approve plans and specs by the end of October, so what I'm hoping to get from today is the BPAC saying, yes, we like this concept, and then we'll take this to the city council to get the city council approve the concept plans, and then we'll enter in final design, and we'll keep it with.
So just had a question again about the Christie alignment where you've got the PEDs and the bicycle facilities separated, which I think is a great idea. I just wanted to understand if it's been thought through on the idea of which location, which pathway is on which side, basically, for which user group, on the conflicts that may be presented at that crossing point at the intersection of Christie and Shell Mountain.
See if I understand you. So this is the area where we envision pedestrians to wait. This is where we envision.
You mean where the track
Yeah,
line?
basically the pedestrians are on
this
the
side.
inboard side
Right.
off of the roadway, and the bicyclists are on the outboard side, which makes sense in some ways because you're removing the pedestrians from the traffic a little bit more, which makes it a more comfortable environment. But I just want to make sure that there's been it's been thought through about how the conflict works in terms of the different movements the peds and bicyclists will make in terms of that intersection, how they move through that area. The idea being, do you want to put the pedestrians further out or further in from the street that will create less conflict between the two user groups? I don't know if I'm conveying that.
Originally, we had a concept that had these, like, this area was gonna be sort of like a level area where everybody could wait. And we realized that this was gonna be too mixed.
I see.
So we peeled it back a little bit to try to separate that.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping that, there might be an occasional cyclist that's here and an occasional pedestrian that's in this area. I imagine, once it gets very heavily used, you could have both. But I think we're gonna set this up with green paint here and the stencils for cyclists, and then maybe some signage to make sure that they stay separate.
I'll tell you what prompted my thinking about this, because I'm thinking about the movement again towards the right on Shell Mountain. If you put the pedestrians on the outboard side towards closer to Christie, the pedestrians won't have to cross the bike path of the bicyclists who are making that right turn. But if you put them on the inboard side, they're going to have to cross the pathway at some point to make that crossing.
Yeah, but they gotta use the existing sidewalks,
They
right?
gotta use the existing
Yeah,
sidewalk.
but then then counter to that, you'll have cyclists having to cross pedestrians. So I mean, you kind of pick one or the other.
Yeah, how do you get around?
Yeah.
What's the drainage like at that corner? Is that restrict all these options?
We haven't looked at all the details yet, but we're reworking the drainage here to allow the street to drain into these planters. And so this is actually not a ramp going down. These grades are flush with the street at this point. So it's not a ramp going down, but we'll have the detectable warnings on each edge. I think what you're suggesting is that in this area, because right now we've got heads, cyclists, and what you're suggesting, Lee, is that this would cross over here maybe, and this over this way? You're creating like a weave.
Well, basically, we would swap the alignment where the bicyclists. I'm saying, have we looked at the idea if it creates less conflict? And I don't know if I have the answer. I'm just asking if it's been looked at. If you move the bicyclists on the inboard side closer to the parking lot and the pedestrians closer to the Christie Road, will that reduce the conflict between the two users as they cross each other?
Well, Robert, you might want to answer that, but what I recall is that in our discussions, keeping the sidewalk where it is might bring down the cost because we're not rearranging that. And we've got utility vaults in here
I see.
that we would be, this needs to be set up so you can drive over it. We've got a lot of utility vaults on the sidewalk that are not traffic rated.
I see.
So as soon as you put this on this side, then you've got to change a lot more on the
I see.
on the
Okay.
utility vaults.
It's potentially a cost issue then, more
Is
than
that right?
anything.
Well, that's correct. Furthermore, the pedestrian will also cross the bicycle if they're going across Shellman.
If they're
So
going.
one way or another, they're crossing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to think, if, as an example, if you move the bicyclist to the inboard side and the pedestrians to outboard side, and you look at the right turn movement for both,
What about eastbound pedestrian?
eastbound pedestrian. Right, okay, so if
So
they
you're
go
crossing
eastbound, then
one
they,
way or another.
yeah, so if they're
Yeah.
continuing
Yeah.
eastward, then they would have to cross that.
But pedestrians will now be able to go diagonally, right? Across
The timing's not going to be set up that way. The timing's still going to be set up for here or here. Otherwise, if we have to, I envision it, we're not going to change the existing timing because it's adequate for the pedestrians right now. And it's going to be more than adequate for the cyclists because they move faster than the pedestrians. So there shouldn't be a need to change the timing for the signal at all. It's only
But there'll be a
adding some
spur-
heads.
But there'll be a phase that's just ped and bikes, so that ped and bikes can make whatever
Exactly,
movement. So
exactly,
peds
exactly.
could scramble if they wanted to, because I think that would really,
Well, it's not gonna be striped for pedestrians to cross that way,
Right.
because then you have to make the time longer for the
How
pedestrians.
much longer, you know?
It's whatever it's 3.5 feet per second, I haven't really calculated it out, I have to take a look
but
at it.
I guess my question is, right now, you're at one corner, say the corner near Trader Joe's, the sort of southwest corner, and you want to go north on the sidewalk over there, so you have to cross toward Bay Street, wait for the next signal, and then cross going north, right? And so instead of that, now, you could just do one movement.
I'm just saying that people do it now, but I'm really.
People do it now, and it's a
but if
very
we-
long wait for pedestrians. It's not I'm just saying that,
It's
right?
120 seconds max, no,
That's-
2 minutes.
Well, I'm just saying, right now, when I've done it as a pedestrian, which I do often, it's not a friendly place for pedestrians. It just doesn't.
It's a lot better than it
people
was
get-
with the,
They-
it used to be, we used to get more calls on pedestrians and vehicles going at the same time. And it was a huge improvement when we made the all pedestrian. Okay.
Oh, so there already is an all.
Yeah, there already is an all pedestrian. It used to be, press the button, you walk one lane, press the button again, you go
Right,
walk the other
that's
lane.
what I'm
Right?
remembering.
Right
Okay.
now, it's, you press the
Okay.
button and you can walk one leg, but both directions go at the same time.
All the legs. go
All,
at the same
both
time.
legs are going at the same time.
And people do scramble, right? They do
People
all
do
anybody
scramble.
who's used to that area knows you can go right across town.
And it's enough time.
But
right?
it's
As
just
long as
that-
you're fast.
Well, you have to be fast.
Fast.
You have to start right away.
Start
and
running.
Be focused.
No ambling.
A little more physical activity.
Exactly.
It has to be his interest to find that out, it seems like,
we have-
or watch someone else
Okay.
do it.
But
I know
but
there's- I know there's
agree,
other
it's only in a few
aspects of
seconds,
this
so maybe
plan.
Yeah, we've got a lot of other stuff to look at.
The last thing I want to hear about, because I think this is the most important part, the trickiest part of the whole plan, are all the phases for the bicycles from the path going to be only push button activated, or is there an opportunity for passive activation?
I'm envisioning buttons, is what I'm envisioning. We're gonna have video detection for anything on the street. So they don't have to press the button while they're on the street. Video detection for this left turn lane. But anything, we could easily have a real short post-mounted button right here for the cyclist, right? And then another button here for the pedestrian.
Can I ask why you wouldn't have a sensor?
Because I haven't seen that technology really, I'd have to look into it. I haven't seen that technology really working for pedestrians, because you could have somebody there
For
that.
pedestrians.
Yeah.
But for the bike.
Because if you're on a bike or pedestrian,
It's
it's
the
good.
same thing.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I brought it up is, one thing that we're pushing for in a lot of other multi-use paths is advanced activation.
Yeah.
So, and it's being used in some, parts of the Iron Horse Trail. It's going to be implemented in the new section of the East Bay Greenway and over in Oakland, so that you detect the bicyclists further down the pathway. So by the time they actually get to the intersection, they're already detected.
Well, I think we
You're
could look
less
at,
likely to lose a phase.
so if you had a video detection here for this, there's a way maybe that you could do an advanced zone on the path.
Right.
You could look at that. But if the cyclist going in the opposite direction passes through it, then you're gonna sense like there's a cyclist ready to go. And so those are the problems you get with, you know, you get a dog walking by and it affects it.
It's,
So-
yeah, I feel like it's worth looking into though, because it's very user-friendly, and that's, you know, that's what we're looking for in this
You
design.
can adjust it, or is that what you, I don't know if you, because there's so many different moving parts here.
Yeah.
It's different than Iron Horse Trail.
And I'm not sure if the signals are actually being upgraded at this
It's
intersection.
only where, no,
Okay,
so far we've upgraded the timing so that it has longer times for pedestrians,
okay.
longer time for the bikes as well, bike clearance intervals, we've added to that.
In terms of new signals going forward, there is video detection now that can detect the difference between a bike and a car. For
They have,
instance.
the video detection does that, you can make it a more sensitive zone for the cyclists.
Just have one more clarifying question. Your separated continental crosswalk, the purpose of the separation in the middle is for a cyclist, or no?
It's what they're starting to use now, where you have cyclists that typically cross in that direction. Like we put them in on Frontage Road at Powell, and then Frontage Road near the entrance to Chevy's restaurant there. And if you go into Berkeley, it's something that's in the NACDO that's showing up now more and more often. And it's more to tell pedestrians that there might be a bicyclist in the area. Yeah, that's where.
Okay.
So I'm trying to be consistent with what we have. I think we have it, did we put it on the off-ramp or did we just do a standard cross?
Standard.
Yeah.
Bicycles traveling north on Shell Mound at that intersection, did you say that during the pedestrian crossing phase, they will be able to continue going north and not stop for the pedestrians?
Yes, it would.
So, I mean, if they're in the far right lane,
If they're in the far right lane and they get a pedestrian,
they can,
the pedestrian phase would come on at the same time as the cyclist phase.
so they can go
continue.
straight.
Yeah.
But then you can't have cars turning right in front of them into Bay Street.
So it's one of these.
So we need to look at that. We need to see whether or not we could do, maybe it's a blank out sign that would say no right turns.
Because
At this location,
the
at this
cyclist
location.
may just be going straight through without even pausing, and then meanwhile a car is.
I think on a typical, if there's a red light for this direction, when, let's say these cars are exiting, there's no reason why these guys can't make a right. So
No,
then
but
maybe
the pedestrian
only,
part.
we need to look at the timing and what that does. I can't answer that right now, but we can look at that.
There's an example in Oakland Chinatown where, you know, the scramble happens, 8th and Webster or wherever.
There's a
and
flashing light.
They
that
have,
comes on.
well, it lights up. So it's
Yeah.
just a no turn on red only for that
It's a
short
blank out
phase.
sign, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, during school times
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Santa Fe, we're in.
Yeah, we'll look at that.
Yeah.
There's a light that lights
And,
up when you
and
got-
is there it seems like there's an even bigger right turn on red thing happening from Christie onto Showmound?
We can't eliminate that without causing major gridlock.
Well, and there won't be bikes there, in theory.
Oh, well, if you're allowing them to turn right on red during the scramble, then
They're
it's
doing
a
it right
bike
now.
ped and car scramble,
It's doing it right now.
and it's okay.
Yeah, it's doing it right now.
To me, I just want to say that I find right turn on red very pedestrian unfriendly. If it's a busy intersection like this, like the one where you come off at Powell, where you would come over to this, it's really hard, even when you have the walk light, you know, coming from the Bay Trail, it's really hard to do. And I understand there's a lot of traffic here, but I just want to say, I don't think we're ever going to have a truly safe bike and ped-friendly thing until we stop cars for a moment, for a minute or two, and let bikes and pets go, and then let cars do their right on red during other phases. That's just my opinion. And I hope that it doesn't change after someone gets hurt. That's my hope, and because I think the Bay Trail is going to get more and more use. The Bay Bridge Trail is going to be really popular. You're going to have a lot of people, and I think this is a wonderful amenity.
Yeah, for me, the right turn on red is not as big an issue as well, when we get to one of the other intersections, we'll talk about, maybe we could flash down and show you. Is that, go to the next page.
Sorry.
So this is the intersection at House View Plaza. So currently, we don't have a crosswalk there. So this would add a crosswalk at this one. All right? And as you can see,
And a
we
bulb.
bulbed out the intersection, so give a little more planting and a little bit more refuge. Shortens the distance so that we don't have to dedicate as much time to the time for the pedestrians to cross. All right, and then in this area, we paint the path green so that cyclists and pedestrians would be walking.
I know you're not designing that crosswalk to be used by bicyclists, but they are going to use it.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes the entry of the Powell Street Plaza complicated for a bike movement. Do you foresee there being a substantial addition of cost if you add another crosswalk on this other leg?
It's not so much a cost, but a safety issue, because this pedestrian crossing comes on when this phase has a green light. And if you have these cars coming out while people are crossing here, you're gonna have a big conflict. We had a similar crosswalk at Shell Mound Way and Christie, where we had the crosswalk on the opposite side, and the cars were creating accidents with, it was too dangerous. Because the majority of the cars are making a left.
Do you foresee any other
But I should say that if you're coming from the peninsula and you're going to go to Powell Street Plaza, you're not going to be coming here to make this move, because you're going to probably stay on the other side of the street already. You'll be there already.
Agreed, but not everybody's coming from that way.
Right, what I want to say is, as somebody who lives, on the other side of the tracks east of here, I shop at the Trader Joe's in Berkeley, because it's easier for me to get to, because this is death defying, where I have to go now. And this would give me another option where I could come south on Shell Mound and then turn west and then cross at that crosswalk. But I think what Robert's saying, it would put me going the wrong way. And I think what you're going to find is bicycles are just going to ride the wrong way on that part of the plaza. And I think that's probably private property. I don't know what
It is
the
private
city
property.
can have there. But I think it's worth considering that I think that is going to be something that happens. People want to go use that plaza, and it's very inaccessible to bikes and pedestrians right now, and I think this is going to really solve that, which is great for the businesses there, but it means that some thought needs to be done.
As a cyclist, I would go back over the Powell Street Bridge by just pretending I'm a vehicle. Turn left, wouldn't be on the Bay Trail, I'd be in the traffic lane heading north on Christie. And so
You're on that side already.
yeah, so that makes sense, not a problem. You're not really pinching the lane down anymore, it's normal.
Yeah, in that direction, yeah.
But Scott, I want to say, I think you're in the minority if you're a bicyclist who feels comfortable going over the Powell Street Bridge, because I would never in a million years do that on my bicycle. I just don't feel comfortable or safe doing it, and I don't see a ton of bicyclists doing it, but on the other hand, I'm not there, maybe there are a lot of people doing it. So I think this gives people who, like me, who are maybe a little more nervous, and a good access by bike to get there, a safer route.
I mean, as a cyclist right now, when I'm trying to go to Trader Joe's, I go on southbound Shell Mound, and then I cross, and then I either walk or ride my bike on the sidewalk right across there. Yeah, because that's the only way to get there. I mean, it's half a block versus going.
Well, I was also thinking, if you're a cyclist leaving Powell Street Plaza, would you do this to do this and then cross again, or would you do this, get on the street? And continue?
The latter,
The latter.
Yeah.
I'm just glad to have a crosswalk there. I think that's a real improvement, but I agree that it's not set up for cyclists.
Okay, let's do the next page. So this is the driveway going into the Black Bear Diner Hotel Park. And what we've done is we've made kept the sidewalk the same level, so this ramps up, ramps back down. And the path itself is painted green asphalt, and then the pedestrians would be in this plastic separated area. Any questions on that?
So there's no light to be,
Pardon me?
there's no light. The left-hand turn lane just goes when it's clear.
There's no light here. This is going into the hotel. This is that entrance off of Christie Avenue going into
Powell Street Club.
Powell Street Club. There's no traffic. Okay.
So I would like to get the BPAC's feedback on how they feel about the solid versus dashed green striping for this purpose. I'll add that the NACTO cities are working really hard to standardize the use of green paint, you know, in the United States, so that motorists have a better sense of what it means when they encounter it. And the standards that are going forward are that any space that's striped solid green should mean no enter for cars, and that it's a bike-only space, whereas the dashed green means a merge zone or something that you can cross over while yielding to bikes. So I really like the use of green paint at that intersection to call it out, but I'd like to get some feedback on whether you think solid or dashed green paint would be more acceptable in that situation.
To me, dashed green means a conflict zone, and I, as a bicyclist, that's helpful to me, because then it alerts me that I'm entering a driveway, whereas solid green, I agree, is usually associated with a protected zone, and that's the zone where we want bikes to be more alert that there might be a color turning.
So maybe that would be dash, telling cyclists that cars might be coming.
Right, so this is a crossing zone, and we should be more, and same thing with cars.
I agree with that. Okay.
All right, thanks.
Morris, is it the, I'm so sorry, this is at the intersection where bicycles. Right, okay, the first access into, yeah, right after you turn right from, and there's a driveway on there.
Yeah, so this is going
Okay, wow.
And down here is where Morris is saying the entrance right here goes rather than distracting that.
Well, no, I'm
Right, but
saying
that's
that
how
if
I
you're
go
coming
now,
from,
and that's the way
if you're
we-
coming here, you're actually in the lot already before.
Yeah,
That's trying to cross.
you're gonna be on the other side, and this is gonna be the Bay Street.
What's right here?
North on Charlotte.
Are there any more questions on this exhibit?
One question. I appreciate the signs that are proposed there for the trail users that say caution for cross-traffic sign, but I'm curious if it would make sense for a sign for motorists who are making that right turn into the driveway. I don't know what it would say, but
Watch for bikes or something.
Well,
That's
watch
where
the
the
sign,
green,
watch for
I'm just thinking that's where
Do
the
you think the
green
green
paint
will do
shows
that?
that there's something different going on. It's a driveway,
okay.
right?
They have to yield all the time, don't they? To everybody.
You know what, I
Driveway
would say
crossing
that-
a sidewalk, basically, right?
I want to say that I think having some kind of a sign with a bike insignia on it might be good, because the difference between watching for a pedestrian and watching for a bicyclist is that bicyclists can move really fast.
Yeah.
And by the time, from the time someone stops, says, oh yeah, it's clear, I'm going, and then you're across traffic and you have to go, and some bicyclist is shooting down there. You know, it's just a slightly different kind of conflict than pedestrians who are moving slower and can maneuver in any direction. You know, can step back if they need to or whatever. I just wonder if it would be good to alert motorists that they need to watch for bicycles as well as pedestrians.
That was
If
kind of
there's
my
a way,
feeling.
if there's a sign that could be visible to motorists across, the lanes of traffic, which is.
So you put a sign, I'm just trying to figure out where that,
Yeah, that's the hard part, is
Where
where
you
you
put it,
put it.
Just as you're turning right before the intersection, and then on the folks that are turning left who are going southbound right there on Christie, they would, in that little island, if they had a little sign saying,
Yeah.
I don't think I put something in it. This island's just painted.
Oh, it is.
But,
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the
It's-
biggest
what I'm
safety
thinking though
problem.
is that you've got this warning here for typical crosswalk, and then this green, I'm hoping that this green paint and this warning, maybe we could even put some bicycle stencils here,
That's a good idea.
right?
Yeah,
Right?
well, yeah, I think you have it in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think that that would be the most visible. A sign, a lot of times people don't even see the sign.
I know.
Yeah.
That's true.
For me, the biggest concern here is that as a vehicle is going towards what is that? That's north, and then making that right turn. If they're making the right turn, they're going to see the southbound bicyclists coming because they're coming at them. I'm just not sure they're always going to have the peripheral vision to see the bicyclists coming from behind them on the right if they're slowing down to make that
Yeah,
turn.
if the
That's why,
cyclist's here
that's why
at
I'm
the
making
same
that
time.
comment.
This is the most dangerous thing we've had today.
there are very few cars, of course, that will
There's
be
very
coming
low line.
out of Powell Street Plaza and then taking a right into,
Yeah,
Very-
because remember, all this traffic is coming from Palace Plaza. That's it.
That's
That's
true.
it.
Yeah. it's
so I'm more
pretty
concerned
minimal.
about the folks turning left, going the other way. Because they're gonna have to navigate cars coming this way,
This way.
pedestrians and bikes going both directions and try and find their window of opportunity to cross there. That's, to me, the most,
And again,
Coming from
that's
the left.
pretty low
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
That's not a real high volume. That's why that left turn pocket's so small.
Yeah.
It's almost like we need a flashing in-pavement treatment.
I don't know. I don't think I'd go there.
maybe just assign a police officer there all the time.
All right, can we move to the next?
The crossing guard.
Okay, so this is the next tricky intersection. As you know, this already exists, right? And the Bay Trail goes straight up. So for consistency, we're suggesting to change out the crosswalk similar to the other one. Okay? Then this again kind of squares. Right now the curb is here. You can see where this comes around. So we capture some more area here where we can have more planting, creating a refuge here. Hard for me to read this. Robert, is this the detectable warnings here?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And the reason is we have this flare here to make that right turn easier, very similar to the other discussion we had. Make this right turn easier, and then also a larger refuse area for a bicycle going north within this turn. So this is only a 4-foot piece here, and this is more 6 feet. Back, we can zoom in.
But I should note, okay, so currently, of course, we have an extra lane, and this is a right turn only lane, so this combines all the moves in here. And so we wanted to make sure that we maintain at least 12 feet for the driving lane. And then we've got an 11-foot left turn pocket, and so these are heavy moves. Currently, there's a raised island that's on here that we eliminated. And we're just gonna, so we could take up some of that space, and we're just gonna do this in paint. The raised island that we have out there right now has an actual push button on it in case a pedestrian got caught out there. It's not a very comfortable place to be if you're caught. And it's gotten hit a couple times. It just wasn't a good thing to put in. So we're gonna take that raised island out, do this in paint. It's a little bit shorter crossing distance now, which will be good.
Can I ask why not also do the same treatment on the western corner here and square that off so that,
This right here?
yeah.
Oh no, this is the heaviest move in this.
Well, that's why.
With the
because-
trucks and everything like that.
Well, so what you've got now is a pedestrian and bike crossing across continuous traffic that never ever stops. I mean, literally, it never stops.
Yeah,
Unless the light is.
I'll be honest,
going
I can't
yellow.
think of a good change here that'll work. Right
You
now,
don't
this is an
think-
existing situation.
You
where
don't
you have
think that making that turn a little more difficult for cars might slow them down?
You know, you get it more difficult for cars means backed up onto the freeway.
Well, they would still, I'm not saying that you would stop them from turning, although I would repeat that I don't think this is safe unless there is a red face for cars, but
To
to
me-
make the curve less inviting for them to just go without stopping as quickly, you know.
See, the
They
issue
turn
right
right
now,
on red
I think the
without
most hazardous of all the turns is probably this, because this goes on a green ball. This is going on a green ball. It's not, so, but
There's a
there's
sign
no.
that says something, you cross with a bike when you have a white pedestrian.
Well, that's why I don't want to put a bike stencil here. I mean,
But right now, there's. a
realistic,
sign.
legally right now, cyclists are supposed to walk across the street.
Yeah,
That's illegal.
but there's a sign there right now says something like, bikers cross when pedestrian.
Cyclists, please.
You sit, I don't know, that's every time, you sit in the corner to get a crosswalk. You got Boulder Bridge.
You know, I don't know, I can't, I've thought about this a long time. There's really not much we could do here.
Right.
And so this is, the only change we're really suggesting here is to make this consistent with the, kind of
Right.
Or is this a spot for the crosswalk to put in those bike symbols or more green or
I think,
something that designates
again,
that space?
it's not in the, if it were in the MUTCD California supplement to have stencils in the crosswalk, then I think that we'd be better in a better position to put it there. But if a cyclist went through here because they felt they had the right of way,
Yeah.
and their car came around,
There's something.
it's going to be
Yeah.
an issue.
It's gonna be a lawsuit.
Right.
I would add that, I mean, you probably know that if crosswalk connects two parts of a bike path, then the crosswalk is legal to bike in. It's an extension of the path. So once you have, I mean, I think you kind of already have a bike path officially on both sides of that intersection, even though.
I think that is the Bay Trail.
Yeah.
It's a big trail, right?
Big
We
trail.
did- we did-
So it is legal right now to bike across it?
It is
Well,
legal
it-
to ride in if it connects two parts of a bike path.
Right.
That was since 1994, that's been the law.
When we did the one crosswalk change at Frontage Road and Powell, we had to work through Caltrans. And we were trying to get a bike stencil in the crosswalk, and they adamantly opposed it.
Yeah.
They
They're
wanted,
definitely
I
becoming more
suppose, a
common.
sign that says, cyclists act like a pedestrian and walk.
Or you could
They wanna-
consult with, Albany, who just installed it like that on the Buchanan path across Buchanan Street. Or you could consult with Berkeley, who did that on the University at the West Street pathway. Or any number of other trails that I know of in the area, or the Bay Trail people who have put that in multiple locations. So, maybe consult with them to figure out how they got it done, because I think it's a good addition.
I think Albany and Berkeley are pretty much on the forefront of that, actually.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the one on Buchanan. They have a variety of this crosswalk here, but they don't have the heavy right turns like we do.
But wouldn't that be more of a reason to do it, because you really need those cars to be doing anything you can to make those cars aware? The people who are coming off the freeway and making that right turn are not people who think, wow, I'm just riding by the bike path in Emeryville. They're people who are like, I'm going to regional retail, and I'm a car, and this is
And
riding.
and some of them have never been there before, and they're not
Right.
expecting bikes.
Right, right, so
Everything
anything
around
we could, that could be done in the design of this, to just give them a little clue, like, hey, something different's happening here, this isn't maybe what you expect, this isn't maybe, this isn't San Leandro or Gilroy where the car is king, like, maybe you need to slow down a little or pay attention.
I think
Anything.
my thought on this is that we need to watch it, but include, we're doing this, the project's this side of the street, we're gonna make this consistent, but we need to look at this separately. I mean, it's a separate project if we were to do anything. But operationally, if we were to say right turn, no right turn on, you can't have just a bike or pedestrian phase here. It's too close to the freeway. Caltrans would never approve it, because we need to
Does
coordinate.
Caltrans have jurisdiction over it?
Because we have an agreement, the freeway maintenance agreement, where we're coordinating our signals, and so, yeah.
Is the redesign of this part of that Powell Street redesign that's supposed to be, isn't there a plan to
Streetscape.
redesign?
Long-term Powell Street, streetscape, if Powell Street
So
Plaza,
that might-
wherever to do,
That
that
might
actually
happen.
called for shifting things over and.
So that might happen in that.
Mark, did you say why you were taking out that island, that raised island in the middle?
Yes, because we needed the space on the street for the cars, and it really wasn't adding anything anymore since it was taken away from.
Yeah, it
it's
is
so
the only
close.
refuge. I mean, that is
It's
just.
just so small, it's not even a place where you'd want to call a refuge. It's-
Well, unless you have to. I mean, that's the most
Yeah.
dangerous intersection in the
But
whole area.
But we've already narrowed it down, we've reduced the number of lanes that you have to walk across by 12, by one. So we actually are having more time for signals here than, for the pedestrians here than we.
You are, but it's never, like as Laura's saying, it's never safe to cross there because cars are coming in from some direction. So I use that island a lot just to stop and look around and see what direction the cars are coming from.
You stand on that island in the middle?
Yeah.
In here? Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's not my
Really?
choice. It's not my choice, but
Oh,
sometimes I
really?
get stuck crossing the street.
Okay.
Well, and one thing, you just can't assume that the light turns green and pedestrians just start, because you gotta make sure that the cars.
Oh, I should,
come
well,
see-
Well, that's
if I
right,
recall,
it's
we
never a
have,
safe time, right?
at this intersection, we have a 2-second pedestrian lead time
Advance.
already advanced.
2
I
seconds.
believe it's 2 seconds.
The thing is, you have no seconds for pedestrians, because during the red phase, cars are turning right continuously, so if you have 2 seconds for pedestrians, that means the cars going across that might have stopped that right turn are stopped, and they're like, I can go.
I'm thinking about something right now. We
You
have
know,
more,
It's-
we have more time for pedestrians here than we need because we're shortened it by 12 feet, or the length. We could talk to the traffic engineers to see if we could maybe add more pedestrian lead time for this cross, because
But that's not the problem. The problem is that the cars are always going, and they may not be looking, and I think.
well, they're not always going. I mean, if there's a red light, they have to come to a stop.
You know, that's the intersection where you need the police on it
That's
24
where you
hours a
sit-
day,
yeah,
because
that's
we
where you
could
sit the
just
cop.
pay for the whole city budget through red light tickets.
Right.
But yeah,
I
theoretically.
think many cars will stop, but yeah, I like the idea of looking
I have to
at
look,
that.
I can't say that's gonna work, but we have to look, we could.
Yeah, if that's a possibility, I think that would
Well, I think the main problem with the motor vehicle that's coming off of that intersection is most of them just come off the freeway and they're coming off with a fast, aggressive mentality. And they're put in an environment where there's a lot of stimulus, there's a lot of input. And I don't think they're always able to take it all in completely.
Well, and the whole point of the streetscape there is to funnel in as quickly as possible around
I think
that
it's a challenge for
curve. And
everybody.
if we want to combine that with bikes, maybe we want to slow them down a little bit. And maybe a pedestrian advance would help with that.
Yeah, and I kind of agree that squaring that corner is one thing that is going to it's going to enforce them stopping. And I don't think it's going to add a lot of time to, and back up the traffic.
If you can't make it, this has to be designed for the trucks to make this corner, right? You've got a lot of big trucks coming in to
Buses,
serve.
the city buses.
Buses turn right corners all
Yeah.
the time.
Well, they go around the corners, the buses.
This was laid out for trucks to be able to serve all the regional area. So, okay, so with that, I guess what I'm
We're
wondering.
getting well over our 45 minutes.
Yeah, I know. So, and I know you have other things you want to talk about. So do you, any major comments on this? What I'd like to be able to do is take this to the city council. And I don't know whether or not I would go first to the transportation committee, then the city council. We got to figure out the procedure, but I want to keep it moving so that we can keep the designers going. And I don't want to give them the full go-ahead until we have the council approve the concept.
Well, you know, I'd love to see a full-on scramble at Shell Mountain Christie, if it's possible.
Do you want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. I want a scramble,
Where?
full-on scramble.
That way.
The first.
Where the de facto scramble exists already. I'd like to, I mean, if it's only a couple seconds to do this diagonal, maybe 3 seconds, 4 seconds, I'd say go for it, and then these guys can go, these guys can go, these guys have a full bike pedestrian scramble. Because I think that's what you're gonna end up having anyhow.
But you're giving it more time.
Well, just
Is that what the difference
Just a
is?
few more
Well,
seconds.
I mean, the reason they don't wanna make it a full scramble is because this diagonal's longer.
It's too long. Yeah, I mean, we can reanalyze it, and we looked at it last time, and when we did the traffic study, it shows that it's gonna back up. Yes?
How many people are out there scrambling?
I've done it myself. I mean,
I do it.
No, I mean, is there enough people that want doing it? That's what I meant.
well, they're doing it right now
Okay.
without it, so
Okay.
why do we want, if we,
Right? Okay.
yeah.
But
So if you
basically,
added a couple seconds, you saved a couple lines.
Yeah,
basically, it's improvement, right?
Yeah, that's,
I'll second your motion.
I think it should be
that,
studied.
realistically, the Bay Bridge is gonna connect to San Francisco for bicyclists and pedestrians. And realistically, this route of the Bay Trail is just not good enough.
Right, I agree.
Realistically, the Bay Trail is either gonna continue along the Emeryville on-ramp that we have and tuck in underneath Temescal Creek, or we're gonna have a little bridge like we've conceived of before, going up the Powell Street exit against traffic, that we'd have a little pedestrian bicycle bridge just going over the off-ramp, and the Bay Trail would continue on the backside of Powell Street. I mean, that's the real future. This is like a holdover for the next 5 to 10 years. That's what it looks like to me.
Right.
So, to me, I say, it's an improvement.
Yeah.
We should go for it.
I think it's a big improvement, and it's not perfect, but I think it's definitely an improvement.
Well, I mean, my motion still stands.
Okay, you made a motion, Laura seconded, now there's discussion, and then you
Yeah.
can call the vote.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be asking, I'm gonna be doing an information question. How many more seconds are we talking about?
Well, we need to study it, to be honest, because originally we were measuring from here to there.
Yeah, you've just,
So
you
now
cut out like
it's
12
shorter, right?
like
shorter
12 or
now. So
15 feet. Yeah,
I don't
so
know,
it might-
I don't know
it
what
might
it
be-
is. I don't know what it is. We might need to.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Is it
go
just
for
the
both
timing
to
is
get
the
studied,
issue?
right?
Pardon?
Is the timing just the only issue with the scrambling?
The timing is, yeah.
That's the only issue, right?
Well, the other thing becomes then, if this was a true scramble, you might want to stripe this thing a whole different way. And
Right.
Yeah.
so,
So is the motion to study, or is the motion to make phase longer?
I say my motion is I want to scramble.
And I second that, and whatever that means,
Okay,
Just wanna
let me
voice
measure,
our
you
requirement.
might have my vote, but I want to go physically measure.
Just a point
We
of
got-
clarification,
I got my measure here.
the other
Here's the old-
direction has not changed.
Yeah,
So
so-
there
oh,
are
you're right,
functional
so you can't
users
go that
that
way.
can do this
There's
faster,
other-
but the timing will not be able to.
Thanks, Amber.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
because this is the
It was
long
actually-
That's the wrong direction,
just
that's
saying
the
out
wrong
loud.
direction. It's not gonna work.
So, yeah, so it's not,
It's not gonna work. I can tell you from a traffic engineering point, you're gonna cause backup congestion, and
But
I
I
don't
think
think you
from
can do that.
a bike, from a climate change, positive environment that we attract people to, we might want to do something that causes short-term traffic pain for long-term civic improvement gain and stuff.
That's a philosophy that I don't share with you. And if I can just say that, the typical diagonal crossing you see is from here to here, right?
Is that the most common one?
That's the typical ones. People are doing it.
No, because Emeryville.
We're not saying you can't do it, so I don't, to make the congestion more severe, to me, it just doesn't really make a lot of.
Maurice, do you have any idea how many seconds?
I haven't studied, all I know is that we studied it last time with the traffic engineer when we implemented the all pedestrian phase.
Do you remember how many seconds made it more severe?
I don't remember though.
Okay.
I don't remember. I just remember that the congestion didn't allow us to do that. We were worried that this was gonna, as it was gonna cause too much congestion. And I should also say, we're adding a hotel.
Right.
We're gonna redevelop all of Site B, you're gonna have that much more traffic coming through, so.
And
Have any more
But
pedestrians?
pedestrians,
Yeah,
not
more
Right, and the pedestrians are gonna do it, and they're gonna, some of them will cross at an angle. But if you if you have to increase the time to allow something that we already have, that's where we are.
So
We're
why
starting
let
on-
pedestrians cross comfortably when you can make them run for their lives, is basically what you're saying. Maurice, I'm sorry, that's what I hear. That's what I do in some of these
Yeah, but
intersections.
I have to look,
run with
okay,
terror
if I was just looking for bikes, I would say do it, but I have, as city engineer, I've gotta look for all modes, I can't just say, I have to
No,
look at the whole thing.
I understand that, but I feel like the car mode is gets a lot of weight in Emeryville. That we worry, especially in this part of Emeryville, because it's regional retail, understandably, a lot of cars go through there, that's not gonna change anytime soon. But,
Well, I should say also that when we put in an all pedestrian signal, we were supposed to watch it, because if it was gonna make too much congestion, then potentially we would have to take it out. But by doing what we're doing here, we're committing for the long term to always have all pedestrian phase by doing this.
And it's worked so far.
And it works right now, right? And you can always watch it, you can always come back later, increase the time if we're seeing it, we're having a problem. So to me, it's like, that's not something that you would hold up approving this design on. It's just time change.
I don't know if this is what you were thinking, Tom. I wasn't thinking of holding up approving the design, but just voicing Deepak's opinion that we would like to see this added to the design.
Yeah,
Not-
we think
not to hold it up.
it'll be there in 5 or 10 years, much like we're saying about things, and,
But, yeah, we're just voicing an opinion and, whatever. If it's a
Besides
study,
your grant.
then-
Right?
Pardon me?
we know
Besides your
we're an
grant funding,
advisory
you have to-
subcommittee, we understand that.
Yeah.
So do we want to send a recommendation to the
Does anybody else
transportation
want to weigh in on this?
Would you restate the motion?
We want a full-on bike pedestrian scramble at that intersection. Okay, so, members, all in favor?
it would be nice.
Six to zero.
Well, that's if anyone is opposed or abstaining.
I think that was everyone that was on the committee that was
No.
here.
Oh.
Who was, I'm sorry, did you vote yet? No or abstain?
Abstain.
He's abstaining, sorry.
So,
I didn't win.
so when it goes to the transport, do you want it to go
Well,
to the
we go there,
transportation?
and then I have to,
And
I'll have to
that's
dig
where
out the last time we studied it, so we don't have to pay a consultant to study it. And we'll figure out what,
But the distance is shorter now.
no, it's the same, as Amber pointed out, this hasn't changed.
Oh, okay.
And I should also say that pedestrian scrambles means no right turns on red. It's just gonna back all the way up.
That's the other issue.
Yeah. You can't do
That's
it.
what I was trying to.
You can't do it.
And that's why I don't do
Well, you know, one thing, when that when Site B is developed, if that intersection isn't working for people, you're gonna have people running across from that Site B over to the Sheraton and not even going over there. That'll be a whole other, but that's probably.
It's a different issue. You'll have people walk through straight. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
But hopefully it'll work, so.
Grace, I have a question about the, going back to the crosswalk with going over to Trader Joe's that puts the bicycles on the wrong side of the street. Is there a reason to not have two crosswalks? One here and then one over here?
yeah, we looked at two, but what I was saying on that one is that the majority of the cars are making a
Right,
left. So if you have any pedestrians here, it's,
Right, but the thing is, the pedestrians would pick the other one. The only people who would use that one would be the occasional bicyclist who is coming south on Shell Mound and then trying to make that turn into the plaza. And that's not going to be, that's not going to get much use. And anyone else who doesn't need to do that is going to take the other crosswalk because it'll be easier for them to cross. So the crossers will have a choice.
well, the way it's designed right now, we took a good look at it. You know, we thought it was a huge improvement to put a pedestrian crosswalk there. Pedestrian coming, cyclists coming on Shell Mound, well, I guess they could cross, well, I think what they're doing now is they're coming here along the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's not good.
I don't know what they're doing.
Okay, well,
I just want to say, and I think this is great, and I think it's going to be a huge improvement, but I'm really sad, as a bicyclist, I'm used to doing weird things, and illegal things, and riding on the sidewalk for little bits of time, and doing all sorts of strange stuff, and I do it less and less as time goes on, because the whole Bay Area has built up its bike facilities, and it's sad to me to see us putting in facilities in this time in 2014 that are like, well, this is kind of puts you going the wrong way, or this kind of does that. Like, I wish we were, I guess I just wish that with this beautiful separated bikeway, which is a huge improvement, that all the connections were also beautiful. And I know it's a challenging area, but I guess to me, it seems like the time for putting in sort of, well, this isn't totally safe kind of bike infrastructure and ped infrastructure. Seems like in this day and age, that's not really the thing to do. That's my only reservation. And I know there's money constrictions and there's logistical constrictions and we'll get what we get, but I just wanted to say that I would love to see us put in only beautiful, safe infrastructure for bikes and peds.
Which would mean removing the cars.
No, I
In the
don't
long
think you do need to remove the cars. I think there are ways. It's maybe we don't have the funding right now, maybe it's not so
Right.
easy, but I hate to see us spending money to put stuff in where it's like, yeah, that's gonna make you do something illegal. Okay, we know somebody's gonna do something illegal. Instead of making a way for that, like, yes, you are allowed to do this, and here you go, and you're not supposed to get out.
There are legal ways to do it. Okay. Well, maybe not.
You get off your bike and walk.
Yeah,
There's a
where you
walk
don't have
to-
to get out. I mean, you would never ask someone to get out of their car and walk at a traffic thing.
Push your car.
Well, yeah.
Get out of, well, the equivalent
Get out
would
of
be,
push.
get out of your car, push a button, and get back, like the kind of things that sometimes bikes are asked to do across.
People do that. People get out of the car, push the button to get the.
Really? Do they?
Yeah, I've seen people do it. They sit at the red light, they get out of the car, push the crosswalk.
Where's that? Where?
In Emeryville.
What's it, 40, by the school.
40.
Oh,
Some
okay.
Paulo and.
Oh,
To sit there and it's
Right.
two long red lines.
So they press the button.
yeah.
They jump out of the car, press the button for the
That's
walkers.
really.
To try to get it to green faster.
So, yeah.
Okay, are we done with this item for today? Because we're really
Yeah.
over time. And we were moving backwards for our agenda, which means Bike to Work Day 2014 organizing.
Okay. So for those of you, if you're here to hear more about Bike to Work Day, that's great. If I don't know if anyone here wants to go to us, but we're gonna try and organize a bit for Bike to Work Day, get volunteers coming out for bag stuffing and for Energizer stations. Is there anybody here that doesn't know about Bike to Work Day, what Bike to Work Day is? Okay. So Bike to Work Day is May 8th this year, Thursday, May 8th. will be something for you. Oh, no, we're gonna do this. So for, yeah, there's some flyers on the table if you want to pass them around. If anybody, I'm sure it'd be really awesome to post them somewhere that hasn't been posted yet, if anybody wants to do that. Yeah, there you go. There's going to be information coming out about the company bike team challenges, I'm guessing, right?
Yes,
Robert?
this week.
Do you want to talk about Bike to Work Day a bit?
I can. Our
Robert Prinz is with Bike East Bay.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Our Bike to Work Day campaign manager, Cynthia, couldn't make it tonight, and she's really the one to talk about all the activities. But we're doing all of the usual stuff, the Team Bike Challenge that people can sign up for. So companies or organizations can create their own teams and win prizes, also tracking the miles that they're putting in. And we're also doing the bag stuffing this year, we already mentioned, in Jacqueline Square instead of Berkeley. And that's going to be on May 1st and 2nd. There'll be a lot of information going on.
Is that in your office or someplace?
It will be, yes, our new office.
And the bike team challenge, by the way, you can have more than one team at one location. It doesn't have to just be one team per company.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we need volunteers for the bag stuffing the week before on the 1st is when Emeryville is going to do it. And the time is 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.
What day is the first?
The 1st is a Thursday, the week before the 8th on Thursday.
Then I will not be able to call back from you. I won't be able to get there till 4, unless I get home at 4.
So, and you'll be able to be there?
What's the address?
Jacqueline Square, it's suite number...
Ground floor.
I can give you the address now, but if we get a list of people who are going to be volunteering and participating, we can send out info directly to those.
You know where Barnes & Noble used to be? It's right across the way.
That's actually our old office. We moved just earlier this month again.
Oh, where are you now?
The actual address now is 495 Embarcadero West.
It's at Broadway, right?
It's further
Near
than-
Broadway.
But it's actually not on Embarcadero, so.
Okay, so
Yeah.
where is it in relationship to where you were?
About a block away,
North or south?
north.
Oh. Okay.
It's kind of hard to describe, which is why we'd rather.
On the other side of the big open area?
There's a surface parking lot as you enter Jacqueline Square
Yeah.
on the right-hand side from Broadway,
Okay.
and it's on the other side of that surface parking lot.
Is this accurate?
But anybody who comes to Jacqueline Square from Broadway will be able to see all the signs pointing towards our
Near
office.
where TGIF was?
I don't know where that used to be.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll send them.
Exactly. Yeah,
Some of us have been around a little
Right
bit
question,
longer.
we'll win the prize.
yeah, everybody on the volunteer list will be getting an email with a map.
Well,
and
my biggest concern right now is that we're gonna have a lot of people on that volunteer list, and I'm not sure how many people we need to have for the number of Energizer stations we're gonna have in the city.
Mhm.
But it's the 1st of the month, and unfortunately, I personally, am moving that day, so I'm not sure where, if I'm gonna be able to get away from that at all. Second, because it's in the middle of the workday for people that work and can't get away from work, that's gonna be a significant barrier to people getting there and helping bike the bags or, remove the bags from
So
the
how's
site.
1, 2, 3 chosen?
I think that was chosen by somebody at the city or.
We didn't choose it.
Oh.
We didn't choose it, sorry.
Okay.
No. In fact, I was asking for it not to be in the middle of the day.
Okay.
Well,
that's
I
not
can
my
help,
territory, but
because
Can you
But I-
ask her, see if we can move it later?
well, I think somebody from the group should
So-
coordinate with Cynthia on that.
Okay.
But what I would say the most important thing is to actually have somebody to bring the bags back is the number one role that needs to be filled, because we do get volunteers throughout the day who are not associated with the specific city, who are just there to help out. So we will have people volunteering throughout the day regardless of whatever city
We'll be
they're
able to
from,
take
and
our-
people who are here
They can
who can't
stop
make
with
the
that.
Emeryville shift are
With our
welcome
specific
to
stuff.
come and help out during other shifts as well.
And hopefully,
Well, except somebody has to bring our specific stuff to the bag stuffing,
yeah.
and then, so that's one piece of it, and that could probably be done earlier if needed.
We would hope
right?
so, actually. Yeah, we have room to store stuff.
Okay.
So as long as it makes it down there before the first, you're good.
But I have to say, I did Emeryville last year, and it was helpful to have people from the city who knew, I think Peter and Arlie were there last year. It was helpful to have people from the city there doing it because they knew, we knew what went in the bags and we were able to do it. Whereas if you just
Right.
have the like you say volunteers and on the bus,
Exactly.
because especially because we're doing some special stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
So
I
I'll,
agree.
I can email Cynthia and ask her if we can have a later time. If it's 4, I can be there for the beginning. Would that work for you, Svante, to go later in the afternoon?
I can go earlier too and later. I mean, when you said 3, you're not gonna just close the door and everybody can't get in. Right, you're gonna be there anyway. Yeah.
I could help take stuff down too. I have a bike trailer, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Can you do it, can you volunteer to stuff bags between 1 and 3
On Thursday?
on a Thursday, May 1st?
Probably.
But
I have to check my calendar, but probably.
Stuff there.
Bring stuff there, stuff bags,
Yeah,
because
so when do we bring stuff
You can
there?
bring stuff there the day before.
the day before we can
Oh,
bring
okay.
stuff, yeah.
From here?
Well, good for them.
Or from where is it? Where is it gonna be?
From the
From?
city.
Somewhere here, I don't know, it could be here, it could be at River Lights, we're not sure.
Well,
Oh, okay.
River Lights does not have the space to stuff bags,
Okay. No, I don't mean stuff bags, I mean, we might pick up the goodies from you
Yes.
and take them over there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out that he did say that someone from the community could reach out to Cynthia if we need to change that time to something that's a little more convenient to everyone else.
Laura
I'm doing that
is
right
going
now.
to
I'm
do
sending her
that.
an email.
I already did,
Right.
but maybe Laura can change her mind. And that would be awesome. So,
So you tell me then where I should pick up stuff to bring there too, if you want.
yeah, no, I will definitely
Okay.
be coordinating that. We don't
I
necessarily
mean, it's not
need
a
that.
question of just
Yeah.
getting to all kinds of places to pick up, is that what it is?
Well, we might have it centralized right here.
Okay.
Like maybe,
Well, keep me posted.
yeah, maybe we'll go and get it from Jen and bring everything here, and then you can bring it over. So that sounds great that you can do that.
No
So,
problem.
and, we do want to have some people from Emeryville that are more familiar with the Energizer stations, stuff in the bags, like Laura was saying.
One thing I will say too is if we're all hauling bags back by trailer, somebody needs to let us into City Hall. Because what are we gonna do with them when we get back here? Last year what we did is we brought them back and we put them in here, and I don't know if Peter moved them somewhere else, if we just left them in this hallway until, by workday, 'cause it's about a week later.
How
So-
late did you bring them back to City Hall? Do you
I
remember?
think it was during the day, I think I was not working on that day last year.
What do you mean the day after?
It's
or
gonna
late
depend
that
on
night?
when our bag stuffing is.
Well,
And I
that's what I was
think
saying.
Pebble
is your
Express
email-
helped us last year too with the hauling. I think we paid Pebble Express.
Dominic said he could do it for free if it's
Okay.
after his workday.
Okay, because that was a big
So-
thing. They were heavy and I did not
Right.
haul as many as I thought
So,
I would.
we
He
have-
took the bulk of them.
We have a few people who have bike trailers that said they can help, so we've got one, yeah. So
So we have 4
David
people,
can, yeah,
but I
so
think having Dominic too would be good. So after
Yeah.
work for him is what, like 5, 6?
I can't remember, something
So
like that.
And then bring it here or
It
something?
just means that we need someone from the city to be able to let us in to
Right.
offload the stuff.
Right, and also we can find out from Cynthia, can we pick stuff up? Like if, let's just say our time is from 1 to 3 and we can't change it, can we pick stuff up at 5?
Yeah, I think that probably is
We've got enough space to store the bags, yeah.
Okay, so,
For that evening.
so that might help
Yeah.
if we can't move the 1 to 3
And
time.
then
Yeah,
they
one
help
group
afterwards.
stuffing, one
So,
group.
so you wouldn't mind being our city person to
Yeah,
let
it's
us
just
in?
as long as, I think I can't tag in after 7:30, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can ask for an extension.
We're not allowed to drive.
So do other people, would other people be more able to help later? Is that what you're?
More convenient, yeah.
Okay.
It's May 1st, are we supposed to demonstrate, work?
Yeah.
Depends
Supposed to
on
be
us.
We'll
striking that
we'll
day.
set up a maypole outside and,
Oh, no, we're talking.
Oh, that's in June.
um,
We're talking Workers' Day here. Nobody's working, sleep.
We're gonna put in our time as volunteers, right?
It's a red day.
Okay, so that's the bag stuffing. Do we need to say anything else about the bag stuffing? And I know some people wanted to see a budget and also the Energizer Station volunteers. So if you want to take one and pass these around for people that are interested.
Mostly where we look, where we're supposed to be.
$100 for Pixar for pastries.
Where you
As
say-
long as they're not that day old, right?
This is what I'm hoping.
A science station.
I did get in touch with Pixar and they did say they wanted to help out.
Sometimes they actually give pastries from their kitchen too.
It's not from, Peter said it's not actually from the kitchen, they buy them somewhere, I don't know.
That's the-
That's what I said, I said, oh, that's cool, they maybe, no, they don't want anything. And then, so the idea here is just to, for your information, to see kind of what it's looking like right now, and it may change. And then we were talking about, well, also what this does is tell us how much money we have to work with for the stuff to go in the bags, the giveaway things. And we're not gonna have one of everything for everybody. We're gonna, I think, split it up and maybe have 4 different things. So bags will have different items in them, so maybe some people will get tire levers, maybe some people will get a patch kit, some people get a leg band. One of the things that I was talking to somebody at the Sing Link about is, do we want to have like little fun reflector things? So I'm just gonna pass those out. See, that's a little bit different than this, but that's okay. You can pass it out. That's fine. That's fine. So if you want to, hand people like a little sheet of reflectors, maybe people have enough of this stuff they got for the past years and they want something new. Or there's, this is a little more of an expanded version of, I have to study this yet. I haven't really.
The price point's a little bit high.
You think it's high for the
Well, I mean,
75 cents
What
per
is
pack?
it? Just a sticker.
If you get
We're talking about
$100,
$1.
if you get 100 packs,
okay.
It's 75 cents.
then maybe $75 for that. So.
I think that's a great idea. I love getting stuff like that.
So we might, maybe we could decide we want to get this instead of patch kits or something, I don't know. If
Or
people,
instead of leg bands, because you couldn't
I
find
can
this.
get with me.
Yeah, so maybe instead of leg bands, we get that.
Yeah,
Patch
missing-
kits are always, people always need patch kits.
okay, unless
They
some
don't know how
people.
to use them.
Yeah, some
there is that. I
Some
know,
people
I
have somebody
don't-
else do their flags, but,
That's-
so,
Can I just say, I don't think we can do this year, but wouldn't it be great to have a little reflective sticker that was some kind of Emeryville logo or
I'll
something?
have a little Emeryville like logo.
Yeah, I would love to have a reflective Emeryville on my bike. Anyway, I'm just saying
It'd be
something.
great to have little vests or whatever.
Little reflective vests.
Yes.
well, in
I'm sure they're a lot
fact,
more expensive, but
Yeah.
still.
in fact, we
They
talked
become
about
collector's items.
having something besides bags and maybe a vest or something like that, but that's like a whole bigger question. So-
Larger portion.
So the idea is to have maybe a variety of things, so at each table, there's a variety of bags, and when somebody comes up and they want a bag, you could say, well, do you want it with tire levers, do you want it with a patch kit? Do you want it, because not everybody needs all those things, and that's been my experience anyway, so. So how does that sound so far? Anybody have any comments on that?
We love you.
Sounds like fun.
So, the budget, the stations,
Sounds great.
does anybody have any comments on how the stations are set up, or what the budget looks like? I think it looks like we might need to limit how many people get shirts, and I'm only gonna say this to Jen because,
Well, I actually might not have all those people going, because
Okay.
we actually have a couple of trips coming up that some of our
Okay.
engineers need to take, so,
okay.
we're trying to figure out who is getting sent.
Yeah.
and who's
I
not.
think 4 shirts per station, maybe.
Well, and do you give shirts to the Cliff Bar people? I think they're right now, so at our station,
Oh.
you just need 2. I don't think you need to get shirts. I don't know what Peter's done in the past.
I don't, I'll have to,
I can't,
no,
I
think
don't
he-
know.
I think he
give them
did, I
shirts?
think he had them listed, it's only 2 people.
Okay.
But we want to have at least 4 people, I think, at a station. I think that, you know, somebody's counting, people are giving out bags, talking to bicyclists and stuff, so it's just good if you have about 4 people.
But then, do you need extra people at Adeline if you're having both sides of the street? Do you want to have 8
Jen
people there?
kind of has that covered,
Yeah,
and
Because
David,
you've got you are
David
on
and
there,
Jen
and
and,
then I already had, I think, like 8 or 9 people, and then that might even get, we're not sure who's going to the trips yet, so.
but I think
I feel
that's
like
covered.
between, yeah, I mean, last year when we did it, that was really covered. It was just a matter of getting the people that were there to also be on the other side. I don't think we're.
And I will say that Sal from the actual cafe was concerned about staffing for his Energizer station, which is a very fun place to be. So if there's extras from Emeryville and people want to go over there.
Well, and the other thing is, I don't know if you saw the updated email, it looks like he's taken care of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Got a little more nervous.
He has a big station, he can probably use extra people.
Okay, the 40th in San Pablo looks like there's only 3 people, and then how can you cover that intersection, actually count people? I've never done that intersection, I've never
I
seen that
have.
done.
You know what, I have to say that 4 people at a station is pretty comfortable staffing. And I think 3 is fine, and maybe more people will come out of the woodwork, or somebody will get shifted. People seem to really, we don't seem to have a problem in Emeryville with volunteers.
We might be short at Frontage and Powell, depending on, because I might not be able to stay there, and I don't know about Dominic, I have to ask him. I just know from last year he did that, so. So I'm still working on that. But I think 4 seems to work.
Can we ask Bikey's Bay for volunteers? Because I think last year, we actually had some extra people who just showed up from Bikey's Bay that we didn't even know were coming, but they had sort of gone to the coalition and said, I just want to volunteer, and they get sent different places. So maybe it's a matter of coordinating with Cynthia.
Cynthia actually sent me Arizmendi. They wanted to volunteer, so that's how they ended up on here.
That's this year.
So I think Arizmendi actually has more than 1. I have them down for 1, but I'm pretty sure they have another, 1 or 2 people.
And I think, I was just in regards to the 40th in San Pablo, I looked at that one, it was a couple years ago, but it was not a problem to have 3. A lot of people just go through that station. It's really busy station in terms of counting, but a lot of those people don't actually stop. So just having 1 person to count and 2 people to interact is fine, in my experience.
I think you're right, because I mean, on the staffing is the bar station, which the last couple of years, which has always got way too many people.
Yeah.
But we're fine, I mean, 4 people, yeah, it's fun, with 4 people, you really, it's generous.
The other thing that we'll be getting is the maps, and I think I'm getting them for Oakland and Berkeley, not just Berkeley. Yeah, those red, I forget the name. Rufus maps, yeah.
Bike walk.
Yes, yeah, so we'll have them for Oakland also, because some people would rather have the Oakland one than the Berkeley one. So,
Are we putting those in bags, or are we just gonna have those?
we might just put those on the table and ask, instead of, sometimes it gets wasteful to have everything in bags and people getting stuff that they don't really want, so it might be better just to have it on the table or under the table or whatever, just so people can ask you, would you like a map?
It's also friendly, it's a nice thing to be able to hand somebody,
Yeah.
say, oh, you're a brand new bike rider, well, here, have a map, whereas a long timer might be like, I don't need a map.
Kids will probably not want it.
Right, kids don't want to.
Parents just grab
And
it.
we do have
I don't use them
traffic
anymore.
counting too, right? It's not just handing out, it's traffic counting.
It is traffic count.
Yeah.
And you basically have to have assigned people for that.
Right,
Yeah,
Right.
It just takes 1 person to do
Yeah, but
they're not
still,
allowed to
it has
talk,
to
they
be,
have to count.
has to be an assigned person, otherwise it falls off the table.
Yeah,
There should be an
So,
assigned person.
so this is
at least.
still a work in progress, all these pieces to Bike to Work Day. It looks like we're not sure how many people we're gonna have for the bag stuffing, depending on the time of day. It sounds like we could probably get the hauling afterwards covered, because we could do it later, we don't have to do it right at the end. And dropping stuff off we have covered, because we can do that ahead of time. So it's mainly just getting maybe 3 or 4 people, you think, at the back stuffing. I did it, it's been a couple years, and it was really confusing. I don't remember being really clear how many people we had for Emeryville. So I don't know
Well, I
how you
think,
felt
are you
about
talking
it.
about hauling or stuff?
Stuffing.
You know, as long as there's at least one person from Emeryville who knows how the bags are supposed to be stuffed, and last year, it was good we were there because there was a problem, and Arlie and I figured out that Peter had counted on putting one.
The tire lever.
Yeah, putting one tire lever in, which doesn't do you any good, so, and I think I was putting in 3, which wasn't right either, so. So we kind of were there to work that out, whereas volunteers who are just there to do any city.
Okay.
It's nice to have at least one of us who kind of knows the plan.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be that person if it can be later, but
Okay.
maybe Conda can
I'll
do
be
it
there early.
early. Yeah, so as long as there's one of us. And then I will say that maybe, I don't know how many bags we're getting this year, but it was a lot. And what I took was nothing compared to what Dominic took, but I was still like puffing and puffing getting home, so.
We're getting 100 less than last year. Last
Okay.
year we got about 400, this year we're gonna get about 300.
I think we got 500 left.
The number I got was 400.
Is that right? I
Yeah.
think 300 is what we've had in the past, and it hasn't been enough.
It was 200.
We had 200?
Yeah, I
Sounds
looked
right
at,
to me.
I looked at Peter's record.
Really?
so-
Okay, I'm sure you're right. Okay, so we're gonna get 300. So that'll help, that's
Yeah.
25%.
We do have bags left from last year, so we can maybe have those as standby.
Let's do that. That's a
Yeah,
great idea.
so if we run out,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
are you threatening?
Yeah, the cell phone.
Oh, the cell phone, oh.
So I've got one question about a different topic to follow up really quick if we're ready.
Go ahead.
So we want to be able to promote all of the mayors that are riding their bikes Bike to Work Day. So I was hoping to get the details, or at least get a confirmation that we will have the details pretty soon on the Emeryville Mayor's Ride.
I was actually working on that today.
Oh,
So I contacted Angus at Oceanworks about the pedicab, and so he's lending it out to someone else, but with the caveat, they know that there's this event and some others. So I'm working on arranging that. I was going to send out an email this week to confirm.
Are we paying?
I have no idea what the situation is.
I don't think we pay him for it.
I thought, well, it's down as a charge
Oh,
on
is it?
from Peter's budget. And is it the mayor or is it Nora?
That's Nora. Jack can ride her own bike.
So,
What's the council members, right?
yeah,
Right,
okay.
so.
As long as it's an official, city
Yes.
official that's riding, we can
Is
promote
there
that.
room for the whole city council then?
So the pedicab?
Some of us like to ride our own
Is that an
bikes.
unscheduled meeting? It has to be
Yeah.
posted as a meeting,
But
right?
ideally, we'd like to
depends
promote
how
it so
strong you
people
think
can
Sarah is,
participate
right?
if they want.
Yeah.
When do you need to know that?
If you can do that sometime this week, then we
Yeah,
can
that's
still
my
get it
goal.
into our materials and newsletter and stuff.
Yeah.
But it'll basically just be, like the when, where, what, and who,
Okay.
so that we
At
can-
8 a.m.,
Yep.
we've met in past years at 8 a.m. right in front of City Hall. We have a little entourage.
yes.
And can I say that even without the pedicab, if for some reason that is a glitch,
Yeah.
couldn't we do it just plan to do it anyway?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's just for Nora. Yeah, the
Yeah.
mayor
And
can
where do you
still
ride to typically?
But she
We
can
ride-
ride on the back of your extra cycle.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
We ride from City Hall over to the 46th and Adeline Energizer Station, and then they go somewhere else. They went to another Energizer Station. I could never do that because I have to drop my kids at school.
Yeah, so I would like to find out that previous route. I need to talk
Yeah.
to people about that.
Where they go from there, I don't know.
Yeah.
We hang out there for quite a while, though.
It
They
sounds
go
good.
bar.
Maybe down to the greenways. I feel like some people came over to the greenway.
There was, I know some people kept going.
Yeah.
The official ride was much shorter, and then some people kept going and going and going and going. So
Okay,
we'll have our official one, and I'll try and get that list to you by the end of this week.
Awesome.
Yeah, but we'll definitely have the details for you, for sure.
anything else on this? We are way behind our schedule.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Marcy, for coordinating all of that.
Do you think we can get Oakland in 10 minutes, or shall we
Oh,
schedule a
Oakland
little bit
can
longer?
No, just go for it.
It'll just be 5 minutes. I just want to tell you guys what's going on. Oakland is shaping up. The route has, I don't remember if this was true last week. I think we changed it in between. So the route now has changed a bit. Instead of being sort of a little, having a star spur off on Stanford Street, it's basically a circle. And I'm sorry, I don't have maps with me.
You can just,
But it's from 55th and San Pablo, up San Pablo to 65th, down 65th to Doyle, and then Doyle back to 55th.
Is that a rectangle?
It's a
It's
big,
a rectangle.
it's
Circle,
a
right?
irregular
I was
rectangle.
wondering where the circle is.
All right, it's a loop, but I think of it as a
There
loop,
you
because
go.
you will circle around in a loop.
A
We've
rectangular
already
loop.
found, we've got some artists who are interested in helping us. We're working with an artist to get our identity branding going. We've got people, somebody has already volunteered to do an activity. So it seems like it's shaping up. People are excited. People are sort of coming out of the woodwork. We have an email address, which is oaklavillawithoutborders@gmail.com. And if
It's
any-
not lower.
No, it was too long, that's why I made it, that the name on the email is Love Our Neighborhood Day, but the actual email address is Oaklaville Without Borders, just because it was shorter. We've got, great people volunteering to help out, and some of us went to the Transportation Committee and the Public Safety Committee this month to talk with them about it, and got lots of great feedback and many, many questions, but it seems like it's moving ahead, and I think it's going to go to the City Council April 22nd. I'm not sure if it's on the agenda. Do you know, Jennifer, if it's on the agenda?
We won't get that until Friday, so
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
But the plan that I heard was it was supposed to go to council for their approval on the 22nd.
April 22nd.
Yeah, so, if people want to show up to support it or let their council members know they support it, that might be, if you're in favor of doing this.
Any budget money?
Well, that's still in question, and
It's
that's.
mostly in kind, isn't it?
We're not asking Emeryville for any money, but there will be cost to the city in police time mostly. And I did have someone at the last meeting saying, why do they want to do this in Emeryville? Why do they want to do this to Emeryville? And, but I think most of the response we've gotten has been really positive, and we've got communications going, and Emeryville's event planners, making connections for us and talking it up. So, and we will have very soon flyers to explain the event and to give to people who might want to volunteer. So I will hopefully bring those to the next meeting so that you can all take some and hand them out to people to get people excited about it.
And we will need a lot of volunteers.
So I've
Well,
been,
Bike to Work Day will be a perfect time to.
Yes,
get
that's
the
part of the thing. We
material
want to have
out.
something to hand out at Bike to Work Day, so.
so I've been in that group too, so what to remember is important, it's 4 hours, right?
Yes, just 4 hours.
On a Saturday, and the major piece is that San Pablo will be blocked for traffic during those hours, between 55 and 60 seconds. So that's the major issue. The rest is more spreading out in the neighborhood.
Yeah, because Doyle Street works out pretty well. 65th is pretty easy. 55th is a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a major piece.
Do you need any,
But it's only 4 hours.
Do you need any rock bands along?
Absolutely.
Because my next door neighbor's got a basement band.
I'm sure it's gonna
They can just come outside.
They don't even have to plan it, they can come outside and play. That's the kind of thing that we love to see happen. And one thing that's changed about the route is that Powell Street and Stanford were gonna be blocked for a section, and now traffic will go through there. So that is gonna ease some of the traffic concerns, I think, that the original route.
And so they're gonna close everything off. They're
And
gonna close the peds and the bikes and.
Right, they'll
Skateboarders
take
and everything
turns,
off.
they'll take turns going. There'll be phases where cars go through and phases, and we'll have a lot of, volunteers and some police at those intersections to make sure that, and we'll just slow cars down going through that part, but.
Maurice would be there and study traffic.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I did video record all the meetings, and I did a video of the entire route last Saturday at 2 o'clock, so it's on YouTube.
That's it. Basically, if things are going well, and if anyone wants to get involved in any way, just let me know.
When's the organizing meetings?
The organizing meetings are every other Thursday, and they are at my house, which is across from the Doyle Street Cafe, 5514 Doyle, from 6 to 7:30. We're not meeting this week, so we're meeting next week, next
Which
Thursday.
is the what?
So that-
17th.
17th, okay. So if anyone wants to come to an organizing meeting, just let me know, and I'll make sure you know how to get there, and you're welcome to come. And if anyone feels like they have a special skill or anything, or they just want to volunteer on the day, just let me know.
Laura, what's the Oaklaville Without Borders, is it all spelled out for the
It's
email?
all spelled out, all on, just
At?
gmail.com.
Okay. So people can email that also?
Yes, they can email that. I mean, basically, anyone on the committee can access that email, although I seem to be the only one doing it. But, yeah, and you can
It needs
also,
to be one person, it doesn't need to be.
I hope it's not me the whole time, because boy.
And the date for it is July 12th.
It's July 12th, yes.
Tuesday, July 12th.
Great, well, I'm glad that everybody's on board and it's moving forward. Yay.
Including Nora.
Okay, we're almost done with our meeting here.
Oh, can I say one last thing? I'm
Please.
sorry, Tom.
Yes.
I just, the big thing we're doing now for Oakland Without Borders is fundraising. That's the big important thing, is we have to make sure we have enough money to fund the event, or it isn't gonna happen. So if anybody has great connections at any of Emeryville's lovely corporations, like a person that, you know, might be an in for us, please feel free to share them with me. We'd be very grateful. You don't have to
How
have
many do they think they need?
35,000, and we look like we've got maybe 10 so far. So, you know, we're off to a good start, but we really need to make sure we have the money up front so we don't get a month out and then realize we're not gonna make it. So please share those connections with me. Your
Spread
friend
the
who's
word.
the CEO and wants
Is there a
to.
Facebook page?
No, that's
Okay.
coming, that's coming.
Yeah, spreading the word, you know, like with Facebook or something
Yeah,
would be a good
that'll
way
be
to go to.
happening.
The important thing, I think, is that the couple of people on this work committee has done a lot similar things for Oakland before, so it's not just a bunch of sudden amateur
Right.
wants to do it, so they have a lot
A lot
of
of
good
experience,
experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I
Okay.
first heard about it, I was a little worried about how we can,
Yeah.
when I met the people involved, my I feel a little positive. There's very good professional people in the bottom.
All right, so staff comments.
Well, hello.
We have a planning department review and update.
Yeah, so just real briefly, there was a planning commission meeting on March 27th. And at that meeting, there was a second study session for them to review the Navy site, which had some changes since you've last seen it. So you can go online and look at the packet.
The Navy site is also known as Avalon Bay, is that right? Or-
Yeah, it's on Shellman, the northernmost.
Right next to Aquatic Park, right?
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yes. So if you'd like to see the most recent plans, they're online. And there was also a housing element study session, and the CIP was reviewed and recommended to the City Council by the Planning Commission. Other updates are at the April 15th City Council meeting. There will be a presentation on the housing element, which will include policy ideas. So just to keep you
There is no
updated.
April 15th city council meeting, it's April 22nd.
April 22nd, that's what I meant. Sometimes when I say the 15th, I mean the 22nd.
Add 7, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
EBOTS has 3 upcoming meetings in May. So check, the Emeryville, Berkeley, Oakland Transportation Study will be having 3 public workshops in May. And just like last time, they'll have one in Oakland, one in Berkeley, one in Emeryville. So you can check the website for that, and I'll mention it again in our next meeting.
This would be to link all those towns by transit.
Yeah, it's particularly with a focus on the last mile. And so now they'll be looking at what people said and ideas that were generated. So last time it was like, what's going on, where are we at? And now it's like, okay, what are we gonna do with the information we got from our fall sessions?
So it'd be nice to have good attendance at those meetings, I just want to say.
Yeah, it's a really exciting project, you know, to have that kind of transit linking other transit so that people have a way to, it doesn't just stop at the Oakland border, it keeps going and that kind of thing.
And also, having been to all of the last sessions that we had, I just want to remind everybody that if you can't go to the Emeryville meeting, it's not that those meetings are specific to that area. That if you go to the Oakland meeting, it's only about Oakland. So go to whichever one you can, and it's a really interesting way to hear other people's ideas as well. So don't feel like you can only go to the Emeryville one.
And how do
You can go
people
to Oakland.
find out about more?
There's a website, there's a EBOTS website. You can contact the planning department if you cannot find that website, because I don't have it with me. And I'll be giving you updates as well at the next.
EBOTS.
Yeah.
And so it's not till May, so at the next meeting will be soon enough.
Yeah, because the first one will be on May 8th, which is a Thursday.
It's a work day, that's not a good day.
No, it's not.
No, it's an awesome evening celebration afterwards. It's a great time.
But you're gonna miss the
You
party.
guys understand?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a bike away from our party.
Right, that's true. But then there's one on May 10th, that one is in West Oakland, and on May 13th is in Berkeley. So you have options. The one in West Oakland is during the day on a Saturday, and the other ones are evenings during the week. So I encourage you to participate. And there's also online participation, so options.
Anything else from that? Do we have any committee member comments? You're not a committee member.
I'll wait.
I don't see any plus here for you, though. Go ahead.
Well, maybe you don't want to hear about what I have to say.
Since we went backwards with everything,
Robert,
okay?
is it an announcement?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to have that on the agenda. I need to add like announcements. Go ahead.
Yes.
Some of you might have heard that April 9th, the Bay Area Toll Authority and MTC are going to be considering approval of funding for bike share coming to the East Bay, specifically in Oakland and Berkeley, with an option for Emeryville. So this is going to be a really big rollout. It's basically as many bikes as they have in San Francisco, 750 bikes at 60 stations. So the plan initially is 450 for Oakland and 300 for Berkeley, and a really condensed area to make sure that they're usable. And we've already invited some business leaders from Emeryville, because those are the people that we really need to hear from in order to get the Bay Area Toll Authority interested in bringing the bikes to Emeryville as well. So the information is on our calendar. If you want to attend, you're welcome to. We don't really need that much more public participation, because too many voices can kind of muddy the issue. But if you're interested in seeing it all go down, you can find the info on the Bike East Bay calendar.
Well, so Robert, just quickly, I got a question from our city manager about a story that I think that was on KQED.
Right.
And I've been out for a few days, so she said that the story mentioned something about Emeryville, which sounds like it might be what you were just saying.
Exactly.
So is that on the website, or should I email you to ask about that? Because I need to figure out,
The
like.
Chronicle articles seem to mention everything.
Yeah, it's all northern Alameda County, and focus on Berkeley, Oakland, Emeryville.
And the business leaders?
We've invited folks from the public market, from Bay Street Mall.
Yeah, they're interested.
Yeah, and Pixar, most of the other big employers in Emeryville. We've been send an invitation. We're not sure who's going to be able to make it, but if you have connections as well, you can send them a reminder about the meeting on the 9th. So it's a really big deal, and we're pretty. The study that they've already done says that the best place to roll out the next phase of bike share, which would actually happen probably in 2015, would be the Oakland, Berkeley, Emeryville area.
All right.
So it's looking really good.
And I do record all those meetings, so I'll be recording that one too.
Is that it? Are we done? Do you have any other comments?
I just want to make one comment, Michael, I'm sorry for going to you about this, but the bike lane northbound on Horton, where it goes under the Powell Street overpass, is still a mess. The sign that said bikes, it said something about bikes that wasn't very helpful, but at least it said something was going on for weeks. And I don't ever see anyone working there. I don't know what's going on with that project, but I'm just wondering, could they prioritize fixing the bike lane, or could there be the sign at least go back, or something? It's
So
a mess.
the sign was up when they were actually doing the work there. Now it's the pavement condition that you're concerned about.
It was always a pavement condition.
Well, they cut a trench in it, so it's severely worsened, right, since they've been working on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a trench, but it's unpaved, basically. Yeah, the pavement is off in the bike lane, and there's also some metal plates, but the big thing is there's a lot of gravel.
Yeah, they need to repave that. The plan and to repave it is once all their pipe is done, which is getting
Well, if
probably
you could,
later in the month.
if you could ask them to put the sign back, because it really isn't great for bikes to run in the lane, and that section is better for bikes to just go the bike lane. I think it's probably going to have to be. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing
Is
that.
that it?
I'm a little pet peeve that.
Okay. I gotta go.
Are we ready for adjournment here?
Let's adjourn.